Hello everyone, I am Nishant Saini. I am a Principal Partner Solutions Architect with Amazon Web Services. As a Partner Solution Architect, I work with our partners like Critical Manufacturing, help them build their software on AWS or augment their software with the cloud technologies. Today we're going to talk about leveraging AWS Cloud to accelerate digital transformation. Before that, just a little bit of my background. I have been with AWS for about 6 years now and been in that partner solution architect role. But before that, I was a controls engineer and a system integrator. So I used to go deploy SCADA, Historian, MES technologies at our manufacturing sites. So that's to say that I have experience deploying it. I'm not just saying it from the IT perspective. All right, so let's get started. What we're going to talk about today, we're going to start with a broader focus on what AWS thinks about digital transformation, right? We hear that word quite a lot, and it is presented differently with different viewpoints. So I'm going to try and narrow it down of what we mean by when we say digital transformation. And then we're going to talk about how AWS helps in the terms of tools that we provide and how you can use those tools to help in accelerating the digital transformation. Then we're going to narrow our focus down to the smart manufacturing and specifically to MES and see how we can leverage those tools that we talked about, leverage the perspective that we talked about, and then bring that to the MES layer. All right, without further ado, then let's get started. So digital transformation. Like I said, we hear this word a lot. It means different thing to different people. Sometimes we have a purely technology focus to it. We're talking about IoT, industrial metaverse, digital twins, whatnot, right? AI, ML nowadays is generative AI and things like that, right? So technologies are a big part of it. They help, but that's not the entire focus, right? To say that, I'll bring up a quote from our founder, Jeff Bezos here, who said that he frequently gets asked what's going to change in the next 10 years, right? But the second question, which is what's not going to change, he said is more important, because you can't base your strategy or what you're going to do based on things that are changing all the time, right? You have to find variables that are constant, that everybody wants, and then base your strategy on that. So with that in mind, that's the perspective we took, and that's what we think about what isn't changing in manufacturing. And when we think about those specific things, what durable customer needs are there that are not changing, that we can count on for no matter how many years to come, no matter what technology flavor is going on today, right? And that is, customers like yourself will always want to reduce the variation in their production, will always want to empower their employees to make better decision, faster decision, right? And always want to be continuously implementing the changes, agility, and time to market first, right? So these are the durable needs that you keep in mind when we're thinking about digital transformation and driving the business outcome. These are the business outcome that we want to drive at, and it's not just us thinking that. If we look at the study this is a study that's done by McKinsey a couple of years ago, and they have shown that digital transformation leaders do achieve outsized impact, right? And the impact is in the business outcomes. So be it yield or energy throughput optimization, where you can see industry leaders are achieving 5 to 10% performance improvements or energy reduction there, or optimizing their OEE, or reducing their resource usage, which is water, air, gas, or whatnot, or even like in the digital supply chain, where the improvement in on-time fulfillment, etc., right? And faster time to market. So these are the business outcomes that we want to achieve, and the underlying layer there that we talked about, I think you have seen that in earlier presentation, and our underlying layer is the data, right? Which is driving all that industrial strategy, which is driving these outcomes. So this is what we need to keep in mind for when we are deciding our digital transformation strategy. And that's exactly what we mean by digital transformation. We want to achieve this level of improvement, this level of outcomes. Technology is there to help. It's not what we talk about when we talk about digital transformation, right? But obviously there are challenges to achieve those things. One is data access and integration. We have heard that term a lot. Data is all siloed, and it's hard to get the data that we need and things like that, right? Those things have improved a lot, but they still exist. It's hard to make a sense of data from various different systems, various different people, and then help them to make the decision faster, right? So the missing portion there is the context and management. It's hard to ascribe the context. It's hard to make it available real time when you need it. And then the biggest problem is the scale as well. It's easy to do a POC. It's easy to do one or two things here and there, but to implement it at scale is the challenge. And obviously security is the underlying challenge among all of these. How do you do this? How do you make the data available to everyone and still be doing that securely so that nobody who had access to it before still didn't have access to it now? How do you implement all that, right? So this is where AWS comes in. This is how we define our mission. This is what we are working with the customers to help do, to drive that future of the customer vision with the help of AWS, right? And to help, our main aim here is to accelerate your innovation, accelerate your growth with there. And the way we do it is obviously together through powerful collaboration, right? So that, keep that in the back of your mind when we go discuss the tools next. The thought process here is we want to drive business outcomes, right? Technology will come and go. There are going to be many different technologies that will help us to do that, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Is how does AWS exactly help, right? What are the tools in our tool belt that can make this happen? Before we go there, let's just quickly talk about why it's AWS or Amazon Web Services, right? Amazon is the name, is in the name there. You may not realize it, but we have a lot of industrial experience ourselves, right? Amazon operates a lot of factories, a lot of fulfillment centers, and to get products to you within a day or two there is a lot of industrial experience, digital transformation stuff going on with ourselves as well, right? So we eat our own dog food. We practice what we preach there with Amazon, and the things that we work at Amazon and with other customers as well. We try to package that and bring that to everyone, right? That's in terms of the comprehensive suite of services, solutions that we offer, and then of course the people, right? The experience that I talked about. So we work with Amazon, our customers, our partners, so all that collective knowledge bringing together. All right, so now let's get to the tools in the toolbox. The first tool in the toolbox is, no surprise, infrastructure. Not only, you may have certainly heard about the AWS on the cloud perspective, but you may not know that we offer AWS services across the spectrum. So even if you want things on premises or on the far edge or on the metros area telco network, we have a solution to get you there, right? So AWS regions we are all aware of. We have 37 regions across the globe, trying to add more. And recently we launched the European Sovereign Cloud as well to address concerns about American control over the cloud for European customers there. And then on premises, you may not know that we have an offering called AWS Outpost that can actually bring the same AWS services back to on premises as well. And there are other offerings there. Again, like I said, we offer it from all the way from edge to the cloud. There are many options available from the infrastructure perspective. And second tool in the toolbox is about comprehensive set of services primarily designed for application hosting. The main point I know there are a lot of icons there, and I'm not going to go describe all the services there, but the main point I want to go and I harp on there is the intent here is to remove the what we call undifferentiated heavy lifting, which is you want to run your MES application. You don't want to manage a Kubernetes cluster or a VMware environment or a Kafka queue or a Kafka cluster, etc. You want to take all of that away from, all of that undifferentiated heavy lifting away from the customers and have them focus on the apps that they want to build, right? And have them drive that digital transformation, not think about how am I going to provision 2 more servers tomorrow, right? So that's the intent of putting these on the slide there. And the third tool in the toolbox. We talked about data a lot. I think you have seen maybe similar sort of ingest, store, contextualize, analyze on other presentations as well. But that's where the magic happens, right? We want to be data-driven organizations. We want to let data drive our decision making and achieve those business outcomes that we talked about. So the way we do it is again, we describe it in that ingest, store, contextualize, analyze layer, and at each layer we have multiple services, solutions as well, right? So ingesting, it's our own services are AWS IoT Greengrass. In storing, we are talking about data lake houses, time series databases, other things like that. And then contextualization through IoT Sitewise or having a knowledge graph through Neptune, etc. I know I'm throwing a lot of service names there at you, but the point here is there are solutions available for us to go from the bottom layer all the way up to the top, right? And how we can get there. And it's not about, if you notice at the bottom layer as well, it's not about the single product line. I know you are here for MES conference, so MES always gets a bigger role here, but when you are thinking about data-driven organization, you don't want to leave the rest of them behind, right? You want to have a cohesive data strategy for all of those. So that's essentially what we bring to the table here. And again, we are not doing this alone. We have an extensive partner network here, right? So these are partners that help us from top to bottom on ingest or on storage or on contextualization as well, and the analytics app. And of course, you can see the critical manufacturing here as well in the app layer of how they are partnering with us so that's the reason why we are here, right? So again, this is the important part to drive through data is the important part to drive the digital transformation, right? So that's the third tool in the toolbox. Then we have, of course, analytic services. If you are focused on manufacturing and shop floor, all these probably seem foreign to you, right? Maybe data warehousing, we have used some, but not a lot. Then we talk about generally lake houses, lake formation. But these are the tools that your corporate is using when we're talking about not just one system, but assimilating data from multiple systems, right? All throughout that bottom layer, from SCADA, PLM, ERP. I want to understand the holistic picture, right? So that's where these type of services help with the warehousing and the glue, where we talk about cataloging and making sure all of that data is available, discoverable, and in a secure fashion, right? And the tools in the toolbox are not over until we talk about AI and ML, right? Those are some of the tools that are driving a lot of the discussion today. In the morning, I think most of the presentation you heard about, we talked about AI, ML a lot. But what are the tools that make it available? So from AWS, the tool that we have is called Amazon SageMaker. SageMaker used to be a specific AI ML tool until last year. So what new that we have brought to SageMaker is made it a comprehensive tool for data management, governance, and building the AI ML apps, including the generative AI. You can see the streaming, business intelligence, all of that stuff is coming as well. Right? And the tool belt talk is not complete until we talk about the generative AI tool belt. Right? Generative AI has taken the world by storm for the last couple of years. Everybody is trying to implement generative AI into their apps, and so have you heard from, you'll probably hear more from critical manufacturing as well. You've heard in the morning how AI and agents are coming and then they can transform that whole system, right? But what are the underlying tools that make it all possible? So when we talk about the generative AI stack from Amazon, we are talking about tools in the toolbox that are available at the lowest level, which is SageMaker AI, which is if you want to build your own models. how are you going to do that, right? You need lots and lots of infrastructure. You need lots of GPUs, which is what we offer. And we even have our own chips, AWS built chips that are tuned for model training and for inference as well, right? So that's the bottommost layer, the infrastructure to build and train all your AI models, right? And then if you go a layer above, that's the layer that models and tools where you build the generative AI apps. So Amazon Bedrock is our main tool for the generative AI, where we bring lots of partner models or Amazon-specific LLM models to you in agnostic abstraction manner, right? So you just call a Bedrock API, you tell it which model you want to use, and that's about it, right? And it has a lot of other features that it offers, like RAG, prompt engineering, knowledge bases that we heard somewhat in the morning as well, that hey, we want to augment the searches with our own data. So those are the things, if you want to build, that's where you go, right? And again, the models in this, every few weeks a new model comes up. So you want to be in an abstracted way that you can choose the best model for the best job, right? And it's not always the top ranking tier model on this, right? You want to think about the cost as well. When people talk about cost in generative AI, they mostly think about what's the cost of fine-tuning, training, etc., etc. But once the things are built, the cost is in the inference, right? How many times you call the generative AI, what the tokens and things that you get back, etc. So that's why you want a broader choice of model. You want to be able to tune what you need, right? And then when we talk about the layer above, we have app layer as well, right? Which is more hands-off. Amazon Q Business lets you add your own data sources and have a chatbot interface directly available to you. So without you having to know anything about the APIs or any infrastructure underneath, you can just go start using it. Again, all of these, and Q Developer is for code development as well. And all of these are enterprise-grade software, right? It's not something, you don't want to put your company's data going into open chatbot across from ChatGPT or Anthropic or anything like that, right? You want governance behind it. You want to make sure the security is there, etc. So that's what these in the tool stack are. And of course, there was a lot of talk about agentic AI, right? Generative AI assistants turning to generative AI agents and agentic systems. So what tools in the toolbox do we have for those? Okay. All right. The same thing. Our core belief is offering choice to the customer. And again, we say have specialized Q agents, which are like, again, you don't need to know what exactly the APIs is or how you are implementing, etc. You can just use those agents, and they have a set of productivity and workflows that they can automate for you. Then again, there are fully managed agents where you are making those in Bedrock as well. And then, of course, the DIY, where you use our underlying technology and build your own. So if we put all of these tools in the toolbox together, it looks something like, something like this. Again, quite a busy slide, but I wanted you to focus on things that we talked about already, right? You see all over, you see the infrastructure as well for deploying and developing all of these applications. You see the ingest layer, where we are using either partner or our own services to ingest the data. And then you see the storage layer here, where you are storing data in the data lakes or Redshift for data warehouses, and connecting through other systems as well, like critical manufacturing, etc., to get that data back and forth. And then the analytics AI layer, your AI layer here, and the Bedrock and the agents here. So that's just one way to showcase how the whole thing would look like, right? And I know I threw a lot of tools, toolbox, service names, this and that at you, but if I want to just quickly recap for a moment, what we talked about first is think about the business outcomes, not the underlying technology. Underlying technology is there to help, but the way we use it is to drive business outcomes, right? You'll not believe a lot of time we go into the conversation, we talk about digital transformation, and all we talked about is, hey, how am I going to implement the IoT, or how am I going to implement the digital twin, or the data lakes, or this like that, and had no discussion about what the business outcomes that they're trying to drive, right? So if you are thinking about digital transformation for your company, start there first. Start with the business outcome. And then get to, obviously, the tools in the toolbox that we talked about: infrastructure, services for hosting, the industrial data fabric for the data, and analytics, and AI, ML, agents, generative AI tools, right? Now let's see how all of this come together when we talk specifically about smart manufacturing and MES in general, right? So smart manufacturing, so we think about that framework for data-driven enterprises and driving those business outcomes, and think about that, how that can drive it for pretty much all of these areas, including engineering, design, supply chain, smart manufacturing, sustainability, smart products, right? That's how our solution map is thought for. That's the mental model. But obviously, I'm not going to talk about all of these here, but we're going to focus on smart manufacturing as such. So within smart manufacturing, the first thing we want to discuss is, I want to describe is what is our vision for smart manufacturing, right? How we think that this industry is going, or how the manufacturing things are going. So if you think about how things are today, right, this is the ISA S95 pyramid. You probably have seen it multiple times. A pretty hierarchical view of what controls what and what drives what, right? The level here are, from 0 to 5 all the way up, and then usually there is a break in there when we talk about demilitarized zone, and then things below that are in the controls layer, things above that are in the software layer, right? So the way we think about what is going on today is all this talk about IT-OT convergence, right? We are already talking about how having the data from all of these are mashing together here. Some of these applications are already going to the cloud and adding more features by being able to talk to each other and by being able to use the data from each other, right? But in the fullness of time, what we believe is we are going into the complete app land here, where everything is going to be its own individual app, if you will, and everything will be able to talk to each other and seamlessly extend to the cloud wherever it needs to go. Right? To realize that future is where we are proceeding, and that's the mental model we have, and that's how we are thinking about smart manufacturing as we go along. So how do we present this to outwards, or what is the actual things that we go, or the solutions that we take to the market, right? So from the smart manufacturing solutions map, at the top layer, we think about it in these categories, right? We want to drive business outcomes in maintenance management, in production management, quality, energy, and towards the software-defined factory, right? This is the top layer for the digitally composed outcomes. And of course, industrial data fabric is going to be the underlying technology for all of these things, right? Industrial data fabric for us means figuring out all that ingest, context, store, and analyze layer, right? Which is the industrial data ops, the modeling, making the graph available for other things, and then adding analytics in terms of generative AI and other things on top of it. Okay? And below that layer is the OT app modernization, which is how do we take the existing apps, existing technology, and infuse the new age intelligence, the new age analytics onto it, right? So, and of course, the OT security is a horizontal layer amongst all of those. We think about it from all of these perspectives. And that's where in these are the categories. If you go to our solution, go to our manufacturing solution library, these are the categories you will see, and you will see AWS and partner solutions offering. Of course, with the critical manufacturing, we are focusing on this area and the production management and quality management area. Okay? So that's how we think about and going to the market. So now let's narrow our focus down further to the MES layer. So the MES layer itself, when we think about what MES can benefit from bringing to the cloud, why should we even consider going to the AWS? Now, here is where I want you to remember back our thought about driving the business outcomes and utilizing the tools in the toolbox, right? So what does cloud bring to the table for MES in particular? One thing we can talk about is optimized TCO. TCO is total cost of ownership, right? And the way we achieve that is utilizing the tool in a toolbox. I talked about using our services to remove the undifferentiated heavy lifting. If we don't want to, we want you to focus on your apps. We want you to drive the value from the apps and not worry about what's going on underneath, right? We want to accelerate the time to value. It should not take weeks or months to get you trying a new thing, or to get you to test a few things like that, or deploy your production systems as well. So that's where we want to accelerate time to value. And last but not the least, the most important one is we want to make you help drive the data-driven innovations, right? We want you to be able to reuse the data in MES, in other systems, combine that together, and drive and democratize that data and drive the business outcomes that you are looking for. So how do we do that with critical manufacturing? Okay. So this is how you go deploy critical manufacturing MES on AWS, right? This is available in Critical's documentation as well. They have a full deployment guide on how you go about do that. But instead of just the architecture, what I wanted to point here are a few things, right? How we are removing the undifferentiated heavy lifting. You see that EKS cluster here. EKS is Elastic Kubernetes Service. So which is us managing the EKS or Kubernetes control plane. Again, removing that undifferentiated heavy lifting. Because you don't need to worry about that. Same with the managed services here, like the message queue or the managed Kafka service. Right? So if you don't need to worry about that, you should not spend time there. Again, the same with the Elastic File Storage or Amazon S3 for blob storage, right? And all of that managed and backed up using the AWS backup capabilities. Again, utilizing the infrastructure and the services are in our toolbox to remove the undifferentiated heavy lifting and achieve that overall optimized TCO for our customers. And not only that, now the next part comes in is how do we take this and augment this further. Of course, Critical is going to also use the technologies available in the cloud and elsewhere to make their products better, to infuse new technologies in there. But you can do some of it otherwise as well, because you have, remember what we talked about earlier, you have more than one app, right? You have more than just an MES system. You have SCADA, you have ERP, you have PLM systems, etc. And you want to combine all that data together to drive the value, right? So how do we augment that? One is simple, data and analytics. Can I take the data from my MES and apply the analytic services that I talked about to drive more value out from it? The industrial IoT, one example could be, let's say you found some cheap sensors. Now you want to integrate that back into that data back into your MES system or on your SCADA system. How are you going to go do about that, right? That's where our services and technologies come in. Enterprise application integration. This is like ERP integration, CRM integration. You want to utilize the data from there. You want to utilize technologies from there to enhance your MES application. And last but not the least, we want to talk about the AI/ML, right? How do we add value with AI/ML to our MES system? And here, I mean, in general, I've seen with MES the way people are, the customers or partners who are developing these generative AI applications, they generally fall in these kind of categories, right? The one that you see most often is the information retrieval. Can I get data from my MES that's already there, but in a more natural language, easy to use format that I can easily query and consume, right? So that's where the information retrieval cases come in. And can I search on more than just what is in my database? Like, can I go one level deep and search manual forms or other documentation that has gone in with my MES system, right? And the second category of augmentation that I have seen here is that are actually helping the operations do their jobs better, right? So this is not necessarily just generative AI, but using like general AI ML techniques as well. For example, if there is an inspection step in there, can we add the AI layer, like a vision AI layer, to make that automated, right? Can we digitize the manual forms that people are still using and inputting and get that data directly into the MES system? Can we rationalize manual data? Right? Can we have like whatever somebody typed up about a downtime issue or something like that? Can we automatically categorize that and apply that into and store that into the database, right? And the other layer I've seen is the admin assistant, right? Generation of graphics, documents, etc. In just the talk before that, I think in the last he talked about showing the AI assistant the sketch of an app you want to build, and it builds it for you. So that falls into these kind of categories. So again, these are some of the use cases that I see. Now I'm going to just show you a couple of demos for these type of use cases and take it from there, right? So one is interacting here with the MES in natural language. Let's see if I can hit play here. Okay. So you can see this is a demo built by my colleagues on to simulated MES system there. So all that data is simulated, but you can see when I'm asking the question, like what is my current schedule for a week, what the LLM is doing behind the scenes is it knows how the data is structured in the database. So it's structuring this kind of a query to go retrieve the same data, right? Now that data exists, you have probably previously built these specific screens in the MES to get that information. But now you can get that with just a natural language query. So you don't have to exactly predict the needs of your customers or what they are going to ask. They can ask more complex queries. They can ask that directly in, they don't need to know SQL. They can ask that directly in the natural language. And you can get that result, right? Another demo in the similar realm is about reinventing the production meeting. That's one you have every morning or at the end of the day in the shift, right? Talking about what we are going to do, whatever the last day's results, and etc. Right? This here is we are using. So first of all, the dashboard here is built from different not just MES data, but data from maintenance system, etc. And the layer that the AI is adding over it is then figuring out what is described in this dashboard or the data behind the scenes. So, and then giving you natural language summary without you having to go dig into what happened and what exactly going on. Right? And things like these are possible because it's in the cloud, right? If you want to try and do this on-prem, I have just one advice for you. That's good luck. All right, then this is actually pretty exciting. This is a demo that is built by one of our system integrators. And this shows you a slight slice of what is possible with agentic AI stuff. Right? So here is this is a maintenance workflow demo where somebody as a maintenance technician is recording doing an inspection, recording an observation of something. Oops. Let's see if I can play that. Okay. And now if you can hit play on that, please. Okay. All right. So you can see that the maintenance technician looked at did the inspection, typed in results saying, hey, a gasket appears once out, and these fields are then automatically populated by the agent that went out and queried what was needed to replace this particular gasket, and then found out the data from there, right? And then beside that, this is one of the services that I mentioned. Q is a tool in the toolbox there that says, that you can go query directly on what type of specification. It goes and finds the data from the maintenance documentation and makes it available to you. And one thing that you may not have noticed is when the operator clicked review and then send, it automatically submitted a maintenance work order to the maintenance system. Okay? And this is just a small slice of what is possible with the agentic AI things, but you can imagine a more cohesive viewpoint from an operator perspective, right? That they are all doing things in the app. They don't have to go to 10 different systems to go log in. They can get the intelligence right there itself in the app that they're working with, and then move along from there. Right, so those were the demos that were showcasing what we talked about, from getting the data all together, using generative AI and even agentic AI to make our jobs easier, right? So what are the takeaways here? The takeaways here is, if you're not using the cloud, please do. Reduce that undifferentiated heavy lifting. You want to focus on driving business outcomes for your enterprise and not on trivial things such as managing the services, managing Kubernetes cluster, etc. Right? Focus on that data-driven enterprise, but again, focus from the business outcomes and use the technologies that best apply. And again, cloud is what makes these advanced technologies possible. It is extremely hard for you to do that without the cloud, right? So I would say even it's not even worth trying to do all of that on premises. So again, that was my talk. Those were the takeaways. Hope you take these points from me from this talk, and thank you very much.
Okay.